Hey, you. Get on this stick.
Yo, bring it.
Choose your fighter.
Yeah. How's it going, lads?
Fight.
Bang, bang, bang.
Flawless victory.
SideQuest Arcade.
Ooh, what's good, gamers? Welcome to SideQuest Arcade. I'm your host this week, Micro Manatee, joined by two of my IRL friends, Brian, aka Happiness,
Hey, everybody, how is it going?
and the man from downtown, living in the streets, slumming it up in high res. It's Trigger Trevor,
What's going on there, buds?
aka Warhead Speeds. Sorry, forgot the aka.
Poggers.
Going, guys. Here for this week's recording.
We're doing pretty well, man. I mean, let's be honest. Questing Man Matt is sleeping Man Matt right now, off at work.
Hey, he's
Bryce
off in the
is
cave.
feeding in the Bronze League. Like, I mean, we got the cream of the crop already here.
We got the real
We don't have
gamers.
to carry. We don't have to carry anyone this week, man. We Gucci. We Gucci.
Listen, Matt got me them carving knives, so I can't talk shit, man. Those things have fucking saved me hours of hand pain and work.
Matt bought you carving knives?
Yeah, we were just in Discord call. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna buy these eventually, but I gotta save money for school. And he was like, "What's your address, bud?" Just fucking.
Here you go. Yeah, Matt's good that way.
What a gentleman. What a scholar and a saint.
You're making a shot glass, aren't you?
I am. I've got two of them made. Well, I got one.
Mate.
I got one varnishing right now, so I put some food grade varnish on it. So if people put liquid in it, it doesn't soak
Won't
into the
taste
wood.
like varnish.
No, it's like it's safe. It's like what you put on your cutting board to get it like the sheen on it, and to keep it like easy to clean. And then the other one is almost totally carved out. I just have to sand the bottom and then do sanding and varnishing, and then I'll start on the third one. It's going good. It's going good.
You gonna start like carving bears and shit and like?
Yeah, probably. I just want to get rid of all my. I bought a bunch of like cubes from Michaels, so I'm like, I want to get rid of those, and they're like the perfect size for a shot glass. So I figure I carve 5 of those. Each one of the boys gets one. Even though I know you guys don't drink, you can just have one, and I'll fucking pull a little design in it if you want with my wood burner. And
I'll drink maple syrup out of it. We'll
There
do
you
maple
go.
syrup shots at Worlds.
there, bam! You can use it to like fucking pour perfect portion sizes of syrup. You know, you pour it in there, and then you pour that shit on your pancakes. Fucking good to go. Or just
That's a good.
drink it
That's
straight.
a good idea.
I mean, to be fair, Bryce is gonna be at Worlds again this year, so you'll pull out the shot glasses. He'll somehow pull out a 40 of vodka, like
He'll just produce it.
It's just like out of
Somehow.
nowhere, and all of a sudden we'll be
Somehow.
sending it.
Yeah, he's good that way. You know.
Here's the thing. So this year, I'm not gonna be like broke out of my mind because last year I was waiting on a check to come in, and it got delayed, which is why I like went home one day, and it
Word.
was just scuffed. I didn't actually end up getting it until like that Monday. So I was like penny pinching my brains out.
For
But
sure.
this year, I mean, we just stock up ahead of time. Whatever people want. I mean, hey, I'm your guy. I'm literally bringing my car. So we need food, we need drinks, we need alcohol. Like, we got a delivery, dude. And you don't have to go hit up that dumbass corner store that's never open.
What the fuck was with that store, man?
What were their
like-
hours? I wanted to ask. I never did, but like they
It's
just
like, you go at like 10 o'clock and it'd be closed, and you go by again at like midnight and they're open, and you're like, what is going
Yeah.
on?
So if you haven't been to HRX yet, or if you haven't been to Centennial Park area in Atlanta, there's a lot of places to eat, but they're all restaurants. If you need anything else besides, just food at a restaurant, you pretty much have to hit up a gift shop and a hotel nearby, or get an Uber to drive you out of the center of Atlanta, because there's not really anything close outside of this one little corner store that was right across from one of the hotels, and
Bruh, it was
bro,
bad. It was
I
so
don't
bad.
understand.
They
There's a million people trying to hit up that store, and they're just like, they're open when they feel like it. It felt like.
Yeah, it was nutty. It was like, yeah, we're gonna open at just random hours, and you better hope you're around when we're open, because we'll be closed for the rest of the day for no fucking reason. When you could
Like
just
at one point, it was like 7 o'clock at night, and me and Define Pride were just like, let's go get some fucking junk food and some drinks. So I keep forgetting that in America you could buy alcohol at corner stores. You can't do that in Canada.
not yet, soon.
Not yet. Well, in Eastern Ontario, they're trialing it.
Yeah. Oh, it's
Or
going
Eastern
well.
Canada.
We
But
got
Western
gross-
Canada, no. It's like licensed liquor stores only. The only thing the store sells is liquor. There's also all kinds of laws here too. I don't know if they're the same in the States. Like you cannot sell alcohol past like 11 unless you're like a bar with the right licensing to do it.
So in the States, it's so you can buy beer at convenience stores, but you can't buy liquor. All that's reserved for liquor stores specifically. So you like even at the supermarket, you can only buy beer. But
Or you can buy wine at liquor or grocery
oh yeah,
stores
yeah,
and stuff too,
want
right?
to, want to.
just not the
but-
hard shit.
Yeah, and then for like time laws, for the most part, I've seen like it's state specific, but a lot of them are based around religion. So like a lot of counties in Georgia, they're being phased out, but you can't buy liquor on Sundays. And that's specifically a religious thing, which to me still doesn't make any sense. Like even wine is part of communion and all that shit, but
Yeah.
whatever. But like you'll go into a gas station or something, and like on a Sunday, and all the doors for the um, alcohol section will just be like chained off, and that's why. But I always say it pisses me off because like the only days I'll want to do like a brisket or like a roast or something where I want alcohol to like get the fond off or something. That's the day. Like Sunday is the day. I'm walking up with my dumbass one beer and a big old brisket, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you can't get this."
Like, but
Fuck you. Come on, bro.
don't do me dirty like that.
You not to
Bro.
totally interrupt, but I think there's something up with your mic, Trevor. I don't know if it's just on Discord, but it's got this like little popping like sounds.
I
in
don't
it,
hear
and
that
it's
at all.
Deeper than normal for me. Sounds like he's in an echo chamber, kind of deep for me.
I do not hear that in the slightest.
I mean, I've listened to Trevor many times, and it doesn't sound like what he normally sounds like. And
Yeah.
might be worth stopping, resyncing, and giving Trevor a chance to like save first draft or whatever, and then listen to
Just-
see if he hears it on his end too.
All right, 1 second.
It's all good, dude. I don't hear it on my end at all, so it might just be your Discord, Brian. There is a chance.
Yeah, he just sounds like incredibly deep, but then I'm hearing this just like popping and ticking sound.
I don't hear anything.
Okay, must just be the connection between me and you then.
All right.
Let me just reclap, I suppose. And
Yeah, I think if you just hit like record again, it'll just continue from your last one. We'll just resync, and then when whoever edits, I've done it many times, right? You just cut her there, resync it there, delete everything in between.
yeah, I'll edit this week anyway. I've been letting Trevor do it the last couple, so it's all.
I remember when I
Um,
edited like 40 episodes in a row. Like
Yeah, but now we're
It's
sharing the
fine,
load,
dude.
dude. Sharing the load, you know.
I just like my life schedule changed to the point that it's like if somebody else didn't take up editing, the show was just done. then Flint actually was the one that pushes harder for like the voice meter and shit.
Are you guys ready?
Yep.
All
right. Oh, do you want to just do 3, 2, 1, clap? I can
Just
figure
do
the
3,
video.
2, 1.
Yeah. All right.
The
3.
video doesn't have to change, right?
No. All right. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, that liquor store was fucked up. I don't know. I don't. Maybe they got their shit together. Maybe someone told them like, if you're open 24/7, you'd make insane amount of dough. But making your
Nah,
own
fuck
hours
that.
ain't working. Yeah, fucking whatever. You running on some weird hours? Fucking Mondays
Bruh,
from
it's
3 p.m.
alright.
to 6 p.m. or some shit like that. Come on.
I got the car. I got the dough this year. So here's the strat. Bring everything we need, and then this year you can drive and go hit up some places for food. Because we didn't get to go to like Sweet Hut last year or some other stuff that I wanted to do. And then we still got Monday, so that's gonna be sick. Because it seems like everybody's flying out Monday night for the most part.
I haven't
Um,
bought my plane tickets. I actually keep forgetting. I'll probably buy them like 4 days before, as I typically do.
I think I'm flying out later as well.
I think Canadian flies out like 7:30. Bryce and Shanna fly out.
Shanna's coming this year?
6:30 or 7. Yeah. And who else? I think Define said he was flying out later because we were talking about that in that call. So we're gonna be able to chill Monday, which is nice because like since we switched to HRX, it's only been a 3-day convention as opposed to a 4.
Yeah, which is really good because that extra day fucks you up.
What's this about now? It's only a 3-day convention?
HRX is only 3 days. Last year was 3 days.
Oh. What did
Friday,
HRX
Saturday,
used to be
Sunday.
for?
Yeah, it was Thursday.
Totally
through-
forgetting.
It was
It's weird
the,
that it's
yeah,
3, but it's
SWC.
like 3 with the entirety of DreamHack too. I'm feeling like this year, like we went out for dinner and stuff, and I think like some of the previous years, it's like we have to go for like every game, or we have to be spending all of this time in the convention hall. And I think there's going to be some amount of like, yes, we're obviously going to go to the convention hall. That's what we're there for. But I think this year needs to be a little bit more like, fuck it, we're leaving earlier and going for food and shit. Like,
We watched
explore
like
Atlanta
3
a little bit.
games this year. What do you mean? This last year we didn't watch like any games.
I watched
we're
a
doing a lot
bunch
of
of
other
Soul
stuff.
Calibur when you guys were doing it. I guess just
Oh.
like the first year, I know we watched like every game. We were also more invested in Smite back then, or at least I was. And then last year, I feel like I spent a good half of my time in the convention center.
It was split then. I mean, like I know you were watching Soul Calibur and the fighting game stuff a lot, but I think we fucked off a good amount. But I do agree that this year we need to do some more. Maybe even Monday we do some more touristy stuff because I mean around the area there's a lot to do. So again, I know we kind of touched on it last week and kind of saying reach out to us if you never been to Atlanta and you're going this year or stuff like that. But if you are staying on Monday, because the convention ends on Sunday, if you stay on Monday, that whole area has plenty of stuff to do. If you want to be a tourist and try and enjoy Atlanta a little bit, whether you're trying to eat something, you're trying to do something, see something, whatever it is, I mean, you don't have to go far. So it's a really sick area. Whereas SWC, if you had been there for that instead of the new HRX location, SWC was kind of off on its own in Atlanta. So you were pretty much one and done in where you were. Whereas now with as of last year, the new location, there's a lot more for you to do, so you don't feel like you're out in this fucking island of Atlanta.
Yeah. Well, but come on, man. We got the scooters, bro. Get on the scooters, start cruising.
Bro.
I think that was like the most white collar thing I'd ever seen is when we hopped out of the hotel and there was just a group of people all on segways getting lessons on segways and like
Yeah, that was
just-
that, and one of them had a vest on. It was like, damn, this is the whitest shit I've ever seen. in
yeah,
my
that was
life.
intense.
Come on now.
I think though this year I haven't bought my flights yet, so I guess it's like still up for debate. But if we want to stay that extra Monday, I have to change my vacation days because last year the whole World's event just landed like dead center of my days off. Like I had 3 days at home, 5 days in Atlanta, and then like 2 days at home, went back to work. It was perfect. This year it's at the start of my days on, like my set. So pretty much every day I'm doing in Atlanta, I have to use vacation days for.
Yeah, I think we're staying like
Um,
half a Monday because it's just like it just depends on when we fly out. Is the only thing.
I mean, I remembered I learned from HRX the first year was like, do not book a fucking 8 o'clock flight home. That was a miserable fucking idea because we went out till like 3 in the morning or 2 in the morning partying, and then we got back,
8 a.m.,
slept
yeah.
3 hours, 4 hours,
Yeah, don't do
then had
that.
to 3 hours, woke up at 5, caught the fucking taxi to the airport, and then just like I couldn't fall asleep. I think I finally caught some sleep on the plane, but it was pretty miserable. But it was only like a 2-hour flight because I had to transfer. Oh man, I was rough. So I have to probably book an extra day. I think I booked off like Monday and Tuesday to go back to work Wednesday because I was like, if I fucking land at like 10 o'clock at night and then need to go back and fly at 5 o'clock in the morning to site, I'm just gonna like, it's not a good, not a good.
Did you not
feeling.
fly from Atlanta to the site? Like, I know that would suck, but
No. We have a very specific like off-brand, like we don't even use the Calgary main airport. There's like a separate airport for all the oil sand sites, and it's like a very specific like oil sands flight there. And then it's a very specific bus like to from that exact flight to camp or to the work site from it. So like I have to catch the flight in Calgary or Edmonton.
gotcha.
Dingleberry.
All right, well, let's wrap up some HRX talk and just saying, fucking make it. Get out the fence. Just come. It's gonna be a blast. It's always a blast.
You'll love it,
Join us
especially
in
if you-
Atlanta.
Yeah, lots of shit to do.
I think what some people didn't realize, like the first year, I think people got it that it was like it's an open invitation, right? You want to just fucking come hang out, come hang out. Second year, some people sort of got it, but we were hanging out more with like known community members. Like we did have like 9 or 10 people in our hotel room playing Super Smash Brothers,
That was
and I
pretty
was
dope.
a tired, cranky child. But oldest one there acted the most childish. But like it is just like fucking come hang out. I feel like the group of us, at least for a lot of the other content creators, have just gained that reputation for like, no, they're chill guys. Just go fucking hang out with them. So
Yeah, come hang out, bro. Come hang out, bro.
Yeah, we play Fortnite.
Yeah, we'll play Fortnite double. I'll play Fortnite doubles with you and build stairs all game.
I feel like I need to get back into Smite so that when you guys are playing on the like console shit and Matt's actually I can actually see Matt do well in Anubis, then we can all join in a team made like Anubis stance.
I only do the floss,
Oh yeah.
so we're gonna have to compromise here.
Understandable.
I think
Is there a god that has the floss?
Nike does now.
Oh,
Oh,
God.
It's
really?
actually, it kind of snuck in there. You know how a lot of the time, well, Ryan, you may not, but lately, when characters get new dances or something, they just don't say anything. They just end up in the game. And so I own all the shit when it comes out, just through Enigma chest and shit. So I get in a game, I'm just doing my VXs on Nike, and I see the dance, and then I click, and I'm like, oh no, oh no,
You've been
because it's like a
baited.
really slow. It's like an old white man floss.
Trying to
Like,
do
it's
Ugh.
just there's no
Had to
style
be
to
off
it.
enough that like Fortnite doesn't come after them, even though there's all the
Well, I
other
mean,
lawsuits
yeah,
related to it.
they don't own it anyway, but it's just like it's so stiff. It's just come on, bro. Oh man.
Brother.
All right, well, Flint, here you got some smack to talk about, some tournaments.
I do have some smack to talk about some tournaments. So Shine is a big Smash tournament song that's going on right now, and it is for this year anyway the most scuffed Super Smash Brothers tournament. Every player is saying that the commentary sucks, the seating sucks. Most of the setups don't have all the characters unlocked, so if you want to play a character, you have to play like fucking enough matches to unlock them or do like the specific unlock requirements. People are getting mad there. The venue's kind of shit. But more importantly, that area of the world has a fucking CDC health warning. The mosquitoes there are carrying the triple E virus, which has a 3 in 10 chance of killing you if you contract it, and it's carried by mosquitoes. And they were just like, yeah, just don't go outside. Sorry. So it has been just a big old scuffed ass tournament that everyone's losing their minds on. Kind of want to
Oops.
talk about. That would I feel like, like you could get by like, yeah, all our characters are unlocked, whatever. But like, bro, there's a virus that has a 30% chance of just killing you outright.
If you contract it.
If you just get it. So
that place must reek of DEET for anybody that has to go outside then. Like, I'd be in full panic mode. Like, I live in Canada. I mean, the most dangerous things are far bigger than me. There's nothing really smaller than me that's that deadly out here.
yeah, we have like Lyme disease or ticks. That's about it. The cold the cold does us favors. But like, if you told me, hey man, you could win $500 in ultimate singles, but you might die. I'm like, yeah, man, I'm gonna stay home. I don't know.
Look, this is not okay.
You Smash players are fucking crazy, dude. Playing for pennies and like risking fucking super viruses just to fucking down air someone into the fucking blast zone. I don't know. Come on now. Cat is losing his shit. That would just throw me off. I couldn't believe. Like, they'll complain about Evo seeding and then go to a tournament with fucking West Nile virus or some shit.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
And then make no money off it.
Yeah, for real.
So
like $0.
I saw Twitter was like, hey, Nintendo official tournament, Smash. And I was like, oh, wait, really? And then I click it and it's actually like Nintendo. I'm like, oh, that's sick. There's probably some money in this. And then I look and I'm like, oh, I don't know what I expected. I mean, come on. What's the point of this being Nintendo official? I mean, I don't get the difference. I'm going to be real. Maybe I missed the difference, but
I don't know why. I think it's like prestige, basically. I know Nintendo's doing a 3-day showcase on CBS for E-League on Smash, which is pretty huge. So I'm wondering if
that is right. I forgot about the ESL.
Yeah, so you do get a little bit of national television exposure. And Smash is one of those games that's never going to be controversial. Like, playing Call of Duty, they could be like, oh, the school shootings and like video games cause violence. But like, bro, I'm playing Mario. You can't. I'm playing DK, bro. Come on now. Playing Villager and shit. So the
PETA, animal on animal violence.
Oh god. I loved Duke's Lost tweet recently. I think it was Duke's Lost that said it, where he's like, I swear to God, every tweet that PETA puts out is actually just a bunch of meat eaters that are trying to make vegetarians look bad.
Yeah, I believe it.
Whatever. Vegans, I met many of them. They're very passionate about why you shouldn't eat meat to the point of pseudoscience. You can settle on the ethical reasons. I'm not going to argue those. They're a difference between me and you, but I'm not going to fault you for not eating meat for many of the multitude of ethical reasons that there actually is to not eat meat. But when you try to tell me that some pseudoscience garbage about how evolutionarily we were never supposed to, that's where I draw the line. And then there's PETA.
They're just out there. They're just out there. Even vegans are like, bro, stop.
I'm pretty sure even vegans are like, please, you're making it hard to exist. Like, you're killing us, man. How does PETA even like make money? Like,
donations.
Are they just sponsored by a rich dude? Is there that many people that actually believe in the horse shit that they
tons of celebrities are like super behind them, unfortunately.
Okay, there's a lot of things that surprise me between Canada and the States. And one of them is how much influence a celebrity has. Because in Canada, you're like, hey, I'm from famous Canadian rock band. And you're like, shut the fuck up. I don't care. Go play music. And that's, like, nobody is going around with a campaign slogan being like, supported by Celine Dion or supported by Justin Bieber, like Americans will, where it's just like, and here is this influential celebrity that really outside of their work is just like any other person who's probably potentially just as uneducated about the system, but now they're supporting people like PETA, and you're just like,
yep, yeah, they're not great. They're not great. Um,
Well, let's transition to some better news. You see
Yeah.
that Dead by Daylight is coming out with a Stranger Things DLC.
I saw tweets about it. I didn't know if it was people being like, "Wouldn't that be cool?" Like I
No,
see
it's
all
real.
the time.
See, I still can't really get the Dead by Daylight, but like Fortnite, can respect the hell out of like what they're putting into the game.
yeah,
Because
the
Dead by
collab is
Daylight, they
sick.
just keep putting in this really cool DLC. Like they're making really great partnerships with existing like horror franchises to make these great crossovers that people would only really think of in Reddit posts. Um, like with the Stranger Things one, they pulled Steve and
Nancy.
God, Nancy. Thank you, Steve and Nancy's characters for the I don't know how do they call it Dead by Daylight. It's not attacker defender. It's
Survivors?
not
Survivors.
survivors. Yeah. There we go. So they have Steve and Nancy as new survivors, and then it looks like the Demigorgs from the next season is going to be the new monster, and they it
Wait,
looks like they
next
have like a
season's
new map.
Demigorgon? So there's like a buffed
Yeah,
up
so
Demigorgon?
it's the standing one. I believe they showed in the after credits the standing Demogorgon, and that's what I saw in the footage for
The first season
this
had a
new game.
standing Demigorgon.
Did they?
Yeah, season
think,
2
like, the
had
very
the
first one-
Demidogs, and that was the new monster. And then season 3, of course, had the weird conglomerate thing. But the OG monster was a standing Demigorgon.
What? I don't even recall it looking back now. I'll have to go look it
Yeah,
up.
because
just to,
like
refresh
season
my
1, you
memory.
really only dealt with one creature, and that was the Demigorgon. Season
Yeah.
2, I think they had some Demigorgons around, but for the most part, it was the Demidogs doing their thing. And then season 3, of course, the big mind flare. But yeah, season 1 was a standing Demigorgon, but it was just one of them.
Well, either way,
They got the
they've
Demigorgon.
added this to Dead by Daylight, and it looks sick. Really
Yeah,
like
man.
the concept, and
Honest to God, I'd almost be interested in playing if Steve had a perk that had to do with his hair.
Damn, dude.
That is my criteria. Honest to God, like Nancy, I'm like, look, she's an interesting enough character, but like Steve, one of the best characters I think of the entire fucking show. I was watching like a YouTube video where they do like those analyses of like well-written characters, and they were showing just like the transition that Steve had from like a bit of an antagonist to like, actually like falling in love, and then actually having his heart broken, and then kind of doing the stuff begrudgingly, and then kind of learning to just admit that now he's no longer Kingpin in high school, and he's just like an adult out of high school. Just like the growth that Steve has as a character, because I watched some clips and I forgot just how much of a douche he was in the beginning of season 1, but then like his transition just felt supernatural, like one of the best written characters in the show.
well, I looked up his perks. Unlucky, he does not have a hair-based perk. He has
Guess I'm not playing.
babysitter, camaraderie, and
Mm,
second
mm.
wind. So none of those are hair-based. Sorry, man. Maybe you should hit the Reddit, see if you can make a change.
Yeah.
But
I
dude,
love
it's sick.
like
I
that
just
is
wish I liked the
something
game.
I love. I love crossovers with games. Even if I don't care about the specific one. Like anytime two companies can kind of like come to an agreement and do crossovers, I love it. I mean, it goes way back to even the days of like Marvel versus Capcom, right? And I know there's like, that's old school, but the fact that like Marvel and Capcom are like two totally separate companies, but then they had a game that they like verse each other. Or I remember playing like some of the can't remember what it was, one of the old samurai games, and you could unlock like Mega Man characters. Just shit like that. Like I love those crossovers. I love that Smite's doing a crossover with Ruby, although Ruby is another company that is willing, or like Rooster Teeth, they seem to cross over with everything. But then I love the fact that they're in like Blaze Blue Cross Tekken. Or not Blaze Blue Cross Tekken, Blaze Blue Cross Battle. That's the one.
Yeah.
Like I love crossovers. I even kind of sort of like I love that Shovel Knight is in is in Brawlhalla. I don't really care so much about Rayman. I feel like Rayman's just like struggling to keep any kind of like importance. Like nobody's like so attached to Rayman that they're excited to see him in things like Brawlhalla, and you see him cross over all kinds of things. But and I think that's probably why Smash Brothers is so popular. Is like it is the ultimate crossover game. I mean, it started with all Nintendo properties, but to be fair, when I was 12 and I had a game where I could fight Donkey Kong, Pikachu, Link, and Mario, that was pretty fucking sick as a kid. Like I remember somebody telling me about it, and they're like, "Yeah, it's a fight. It's like this weird fighting game. You jump off." They're explaining like the knockdown mechanic, which now seems pretty standard. But he's like, "Yeah, it's got Pikachu, Donkey Kong, Link, and Mario, and those were four that all to me, right? Like I grew up playing all four of those characters' games. Samus and Captain Falcon and some of those, they weren't really the genres I played, but those four characters, Yoshi, Fox as well, like my mind was just being shattered as a child. And then when me and my sister finally went and rented it, it was like, this is unreal. I love crossovers. So I want to see more. I mean, back in the day when I played a lot of League, I tried getting back into it, and then I'm like, click-based movement. Who am I trying to kid myself here? But I wish they would have done like some crossovers. Some games like World of Warcraft maybe it doesn't make quite so much sense, but especially these games with like 100 characters, fucking crossover constantly, man.
100 characters. What game? Oh, you know what? There's that game Smite. Yeah, that's one of them.
Dude,
Smite has
wait till
the
they put anime characters in Smite, dude. Fucking Goku's is playable.
Yeah. Well, they're gonna have the Ruby skins here coming out.
Yep, those are cool.
Presumably in the near future.
Did they announce which characters are getting the skins?
The four girls. They didn't say which Smite characters are getting it. No, that's what we were talking about.
Because like people keep pitching all these ideas for Ruby in particular, but because she's got the scythe. But I swear to God, didn't Thanatos get a gender bender skin?
Yeah. So he's got a female skin now, which is the new go-to.
They have a lot of gender bender skins now, or what? Or just the Thanatos?
No. I meant just on Thanatos. It's his new go-to skin. Always throws me off.
As I said at the start of the recording, I've been getting my competitive craving back. Like I've been playing just like I've got like 120 hours already into fucking Fire Emblem. The game is great, don't get me wrong, and I'll play a fuck ton of it still in camp. The Switch is great for camp. But then I've got this like urge to play something competitive. I think that's what got me back into League of Legends, because I still was just being too stubborn to try Smite again. And I feel like for a lot of the reasons that I got frustrated and quit Smite, like they're not really a thing anymore. And the only thing that really struggles for me with that competitive side is I still always hated solo queuing Smite. Matt says it straight up, he'll never solo queue Smite. Most of you guys don't. But I feel like there's still a lot of people in the community, especially now with crossplay, where I could queue up with the bot G guys or the split push guys, or like
there's always people on.
Like between everything, right? Like I could start adding them all to friends. I could probably come back and maybe find people to queue with, because even queuing with one person made the game infinite. But I hated you. And with this 10 and 10 schedule where I'm just home for 10 straight days, it's like the waiting till 5 o'clock for everybody to get home from work has always been a struggle. But I don't know. I'm like inches away from saying fuck it, I'm gonna reinstall and give it another try, but not get as hardcore as I did last time.
Yeah, just don't get your expectations too high, because like at the end of the day, while the game has changed, you're still gonna hit that wall like you did before. Like everyone hits it from time to time.
My wall wasn't entirely frustration with the game. It was a combination of burnout. It was a combination of some community things, not the VD2 community, but outside, that kind of started to just like, I was just abnormally letting it take my toll. But it was more burnout, but I was never somebody that got like insanely angry at something that wasn't perfectly balanced. I was always just like, yeah, all right, that'll get fixed pretty soon. Those things, like, I mean, I had rage problems, but I have to play them in a controlled amount, and then the rage isn't so bad. But I didn't quit for a lot of the reasons that other people quit. I didn't quit from frustrations from the game. I quit from a lot of external stuff.
You might, yeah. If you're getting the drive back, definitely give it a try. I would
So I
not
miss
recommend solo queuing, but it's up to you.
No, but like you guys are playing. Trevor's playing, Coop's playing, Flint
Yeah.
hops on once in a while. Matt will queue up in groups. Bryce is playing enough that he's into like leagues and shit. And then of course now there's crossplay, so I can play with all kinds of whammies. And so I've been thinking a lot about it. And it's like, you know what? I still don't think I'm gonna try to get into Conquest. I might still just be like ARAM and Arena, the odd clash, but Conquest, I still fucking hate Conquest. I feel like if I've got an urge to play Conquest, that's when I'll just download League of Legends and go play Summoner's Rift. But
Yeah.
anyway.
Well, for other things this week, we had a lot of esports tournaments like Flint. You mentioned that we had the Shining for Smash. TI obviously happened. Overwatch League had their last week of the regular season, as well as they hosted a like they have the homecoming games. They hosted this one a little offsite in California.
Nice.
I think that was all the esports stuff we had this weekend, right?
Pretty much.
I did see with the Overwatch one though. I've been checking in and out to see how things are going. Their content is just always improving. They're not just in like production value, but I just love their content because I'm not watching all the time. I don't care to. I watch just enough to keep up and have a vague idea of like who's good. But even that, it's like 50-50. But their content keeps me coming back. Between their like actual analyst content and just they're more like laid back comedy stuff. But they had some really cool production value this weekend, and they had that's something I never seen before, even though it's not that big of a deal. But they had this dunk tank set up, where 2 dunk tanks, like next to the stage. So each team would have like somebody on the dunk tank, like a fan or somebody, and whoever lost, that person would like get dunked or something. It was just such like a little thing, but it's like, who thinks of just that's where we would want a dunk tank at an esports event centered around who's winning
Yeah.
and who's losing. Like, it's just such a weird thing, but it's like, hey, I mean, give it a shot. It was a cool little thing to do, and I mean, at least it interested me. They served that purpose. But TI, I will admit, like, I really want to get into it. I checked in, and I try to watch Dota.
That's Dota, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but I just do not play it. I do, probably if I played League or obviously Dota, either the popular top down MOBAs, then I'd probably get it and be more into it. But there's just such a big difference between Smite and those 2 games in terms of like understanding what's happening in the team fights. Like, obviously someone dies, someone gets a pentakill or something, like shit like that's obvious, but it's hard to tell, at least for me, like who's winning and who's really losing. Especially since like it seems like the blinks in those games, especially League, it's very hard to tell when somebody blinked or somebody went invis versus someone's actually dead, because there's like
I think
a lot
that's
of
just
blinking.
your unfamiliarity with your eyes following it. I actually found that playing that much League of Legends for so long, like when I was deep into League, I mean, I was into it for 3 or 4 years before I went into my 3 or 4 years into Smite. And watching enough of it, like you can pay attention to everything. There's certain things that become drastically more important in like League of Legends than they become in Smite. And the way Summoner's Rift played versus the way even Conquest played was often so vastly different. Conquest was, well, it's insanely fast. I think game match can last a long time, but it just felt more hectic. But then as a spectator sport, I actually like League of Legends more because from the top down, you could see everything that was happening. And I think some of it just comes down to familiarity too, right? You're like,
Yeah, of
I
course.
know what this character can do, or I know what that character can do. You have certain expectations for what they can do, but then when a player does something completely out of your expectations and then just like owns people with it, right? Then it's impressive. But I think an amazing play from just an average play is hard to tell, right? Without that familiarity.
Yeah, I would agree.
And so overall, I do find it better. But then, like, yeah, you're right. The blinking, super important. The blink has a very specific, like, yellow animation compared to the deaths. So for you, you'd be like, where'd the character go? And for everybody else, like, oh, he flashed, right? And then, of course, Flash is such a staple in League of Legends that it's actually been like a talking point for years that basically Flash is too powerful. It's combat blink for everybody from level 1 that you start with, right? And they've nerfed the cooldowns, they've nerfed the range of it, and then it's kind of sat in a certain spot and it's still considered overpowered. But then it's just balanced by the fact that everybody has it. But then by not having it, the game has been balanced around Flash existing for so long that if they've talked about it, and if they were just to remove Flash, there's a list of characters that are pretty much only balanced because Flash exists will become unbearably overpowered.
Right.
Yeah.
The pacing too, and like how frequent ganks can happen. There's no speed buff. The distance between top lane and mid lane is far greater than either of the lanes to mid lane and Smite because of that actual square shape rather than the kind of elongated shape that the Conquest map has. So those ganks are far less frequent. There's just like so much of that comes into play. It's a far more methodical, I think, game in its outcomes than Smite has often felt. And then Smite's also been a little bit confusing where it's like the way you play as a player is often so much different than the way you play as a pro. Because like you watch some of the pro strategies that come out in Conquest, and I guess to some degree it's exciting to see in Smite just like wild and crazy and weird shit. I remember seeing something on Twitter, like the pros were complaining that like, what's the 80 carry? Do we call it the 80 carry roll or do we call it the other roll? Because then they're running a hunter in mid and because of the farm and like these micro efficiencies. That farming is far more balanced out in League of Legends. The gold's a little bit, more direct that way. And so your objectives play a far bigger role than your ability to kill or your ability even just to farm. So there's like such variant differences. But yeah, I think it's hugely like when I watch Dota, I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Like you can last hit your own minions in Dota to creep the gate. And then a lot of the times when people are in there, they're spending almost as much time like killing their own minions as they are trying to kill the opponent's minions. So it adds like a whole different layer to it as well. And I think in Dota, there's also roles that still just don't get gold. So there's characters that are strong without and characters that are gold. Like it's a weird game. It's vastly different.
I agree, but I'm thinking it more of just from like a spectator point of view because obviously these games are spectator sports now.
Yeah.
I mean, but it seems like pretty much if it isn't CS:GO, I mean, it's going to have some degree of like I don't know what the fuck is happening. Even I mean, when you look at Call of Duty, there's for a new person, there's going to be aspects, especially now with like
With the operators, it's
perks,
hard to
the operators and perks and stuff. Even Overwatch, like you can there's always like the very obvious like okay, everyone's dead. But there's esports is going to struggle with finding that way to show those like really crazy like nuances to the game that somebody could be exploiting that's like super high tech and nobody understands. Like obviously you can still do that in like football and basketball where it's high tech things that you wouldn't catch unless you understood what it was. But it's just there's such a big difference between
I
the
don't know.
two.
For somebody that watches zero sports, like you're talking about the spectator, or you're having a hard time like following, flashes and did somebody die or did they blink? But then it's like, I think what it's like for me the few times I've watched hockey, like the most popular game in Canada, and I can't understand unless you've got like a 65-inch TV and you're rather close to it. How did people even watch hockey before HD video? Because you're trying to watch a little black dot on a white, ice, and other than the shifting of the players, and maybe you see it roughly skim to a player, I just see player bodies moving, and it all looks the fucking same to me, and I could barely keep my eye on the fucking puck to even know what's happening. Even when I've gone there, the atmosphere is fun when I've been to a physical game. I can't even keep my eye on the puck. I turn to grab a drink from my drink, I come back, I don't know what's happening in hockey. Same with football. That game I felt like there was like 90% downtime and 5% something happening.
That's
Basketball
pretty
is like
accurate
the
for
only
football.
one that I could sort of follow, but the basketball just felt like, oh, the guys on the left have it. They go score a point on the right. And 90% of what's interesting is like the few interceptions where you can kind of like take it and go back. Like a lot of those sports too, like, I mean, I'm more biased towards esports. I've watched a fair bit in my life, but there's like so many more nuances that I can understand and follow and pay attention to. I get what you're saying, the general public, but I also think there's a certain point with esports, and League of Legends has kind of shown it, that you don't necessarily need the general public to give a fuck about your game, because most sports that are out there I can barely follow and understand what's going on. Even though I understand the rules, played it as a kid, I know how hockey works. I know all the rules of hockey. And then when they make an offsides call, I don't even notice it on the screen. But the guy beside me, when I've been around them, they're like, no, you're going to be offsides. Or they'll get all excited. And I'm like, what are we excited about? I can't find the black fucking dot on the screen. Right? Like,
But
Yeah.
in that, it's still like, all right, let's say I invite my non-sports friend over and, like I'm watching, football or something. Like that person at least, can watch it and understand what's going on. Again, even if they don't understand like the complexities of it. But I feel like esports is different. And we're talking about this accessibility. Like, you put up these games in front of everyone. These games are becoming vastly more popular over time, and they're only going to become more popular. So, at what point do we start seeing, maybe even these games that are very simple and easy to understand, go on even farther and start to become the most popular? Because, like right now, Dota, CS, probably are two most popular. Dota probably being the more dominant there, but League is obviously extremely popular. Um, there are a lot
I
of
thought
complex
League was
games.
bigger than Dota and CS for pro play.
I don't think in viewership. I think because of like Russia, Dota is more popular.
Yeah,
I
people
could
be
wrong.
sleeping on Russia, man. Like there's a lot of fucking people over there, and they don't have access to as many games, or maybe it's just they just like the same 4 games and they all just fucking play it.
Actually, that was what wasn't Matt jokingly talking about, like he was imitating Yulia with the accent that she hates, and he was like
There's like 4 games they
talking to
fucking
her
play.
about something, and she's like, well, if it isn't World of Tanks, Dota, or CS Go, nobody in Russia cares.
That's, man, fun fact, they use World of Tanks to recruit people to the Russian army. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know.
'Cause they
Actually, I did.
Yeah, because they have
forgot.
tank drones. So people that do well in World of Tanks, the Russian military be like, hey, you want to drive a real one, but like in an office with a fucking joystick? And they're like,
Dude, I forgot about that, or how popular that game was in Russia.
it's fucking
Holy
crazy.
shit.
It's
I
fucking
seen the
crazy.
ads for it. I remember Derek played it for a while, but then it's apparently like insanely microtransaction heavy.
Oh fuck yeah, no, it's crazy because like every vehicle you can buy, and then you can buy upgrades for the vehicle. They've put a lot of like grind and then also microtransactions into it. I just don't want to play it because I'm not trying to get a letter from Putin fucking one day. Hey Micromanti, you've been piling in that tank real well. You wanna come on over? Wanna hang out? Got some real tank drones for you. Like, nah, Dad. And I don't want to sink my money into another game. I just give me the $60 game that I don't have to have microtransactions for. September Trevor and I will be there anyway.
Bro, I'm so ready. I mean, all right. So we had the Call of Duty.
What's coming out in September again?
Call of Duty.
Oh,
I know
Well,
you
no,
you were
no,
0% into it, but
the beta was September.
September
The
19th
the only
is the beta.
shooters
Yeah.
I've ever liked were Halo and Borderlands.
There you go.
Borderlands comes out September 13th. Easy money. But
True.
we saw the first footage, outside of like first public footage this week, of Call of Duty. You know, outside of the all right, we have Doctor Disrespect and a bunch of other streamers come. So they had the PS4 alpha for 2v2, and I'm happy to see they're doing multiple stages of this testing. I think that's going to really help the game on release. Like obviously, like releases have been much more consistent for all games, and all these big companies for AAA's. But like, let's be honest, you can't fuck up with this one game. You guys really need this one to succeed. This is a big turning point for the franchise and the Pro League. So I'm excited to see the 2v2 investment. I'm also excited to see they already are showing 4 maps for this.
Yeah.
But I just can't wait for September, dude. Next month we'll jump into the beta. Fucking enjoy the fuck out of it. I hope.
I'm just hoping for
That's
stable
all.
service, brother, because I
Dude,
remember
same.
COD 4 on release sucked cock for me. I don't know about you guys, but it was terrible for my cornfield ass. But now I'm playing at sub 60 ping all the time when I play COD. Like the last few days.
That's actually one thing I've just thought about is I was like, I should try Smite again. When I rage quit Smite, I had horrible ping, and now I've got fiber, and I don't actually know what my ping is like.
Probably pretty good.
If my ping, I mean, I was playing at 120 ping,
Mm-hmm.
and that was part of what was part. I mean, like there was things that made me rage, but then there was other things that
Yeah.
made me rage for different reasons. But man, can you imagine if I was playing on 60 ping? I'm
Bragging.
intrigued.
Man, before we get fucking too deep, there was one more video game thing I want to talk about. That it's entitled gamers, which I feel like is slowly becoming a
That's
thing we
back
talk
again?
about like every other week. Yeah,
God damn it.
this time it's Apex Legends. I don't know if you guys been
Okay.
following that. Trevor, you see any of that shit?
Oh, are you talking about the Reddit drama?
Oh yeah, of course. That's where I
Oh,
spend
brother.
90% of my time. Made it onto actual news websites, so it counts.
Did it really?
It
Holy
really
shit.
did, yeah. So, for the uninformed, Apex had Season 2's come out, and they had an event to commemorate it called the Iron Crown. And essentially what it was a giant microtransaction event. So you could play, as you played, the idea was like, oh, you get crowns in your chests. As you accumulate those crowns, you can use them to buy like in-game cosmetics. Again, it's all in the cosmetic sphere. Apex Legends isn't a pay-to-win game. But someone mathed it out, and it was like you had to spend like $200 to get the final item. And everyone freaked out. They're like, hey, this is an EA tactic. You guys have made it almost impossible to grind out. The packs you have as like opening it's like I'm playing NHL fucking 2020. What the fuck is this, right? And the devs came in and said, listen, we hear you. We've slightly lowered the prices for stuff to help you out, which still had people kind of pressed because the point was not that the prices were too high, but like you did the bare minimum, right? And you're always going to have those people that are kind of upset. And through most of the Reddit thread, there was some actual legitimate criticism of like, this is why we don't like your price point, and this is very, very reasonable, not entitled gamer speak. It was very like keyed in. This is what we don't like. respectful. And then there, of course, you get enough traction, some idiots get in the mix, traveling over from Arsmite or something, and they just go, "You're a poopy head. I don't like you." And the devs, instead of responding to the actual criticism, responded to those idiots and called them dicks and asshats and freeloaders and shit like that. And then everyone just started blowing up at the Apex devs. Like, that's super unprofessional. You can't be calling your consumers dicks and asshats and freeloaders. That's not acceptable. Culminated with the CEO of Respawn Entertainment apologizing on behalf of the community manager and the team lead, which were the ones calling everyone names on Reddit. And I am personally of the opinion that if you're being an asshole on the internet and I'm a game dev, I should be able to call you an asshole. I understand from a corporate side, probably not the smartest thing. But I can only imagine the amount of bullshit that they have to deal with on the day-to-day where it's like, okay, man, you're being a dick. Let's reset. Feel like.
But why would you do that from an account that like somebody will know you're a dev?
I
Like,
agree.
just
Like
get on
I
your
understand.
throwaway.
I understand that. Like, yeah, okay. Like, I get why there was backlash. I just feel like it's weird that the entire consumer base can be like, well, not the entire consumer base. That should be like the small concentrated group of idiots screaming just like personal insults at the devs is allowed to do that ad nauseum. But as soon as a dev fires back and goes, "Man, you're a fucking asshole. Can you stop, please? Can we talk about the game instead of just like telling me to fucking kill myself?" That all of a sudden they're being unprofessional and they have to correct their behavior. But it's cool for the Reddit cesspools to just be that, right?
Yeah, but that's nothing new. I mean, like you think about,
it's
like,
nothing new, no.
You think about famous people in the paparazzi. I mean, how
Yeah.
many times have we seen that exact same problem outside of the gaming community? I'm not saying it's right or anything, but like at a certain point, you kind of just have to hold yourself to a higher standard, or be a shitter in a way nobody knows it's you. Or
Yeah.
that you represent the company at all. Like
That
just
falls
be
in
on your
such a
throwaway.
weird, like I'm kind of like I could see both sides of that. I got a lot of, I guess, general kind of undirectional thoughts on that. It's like, yeah, all right, calling somebody a dick when they're being a dick, right? It's like some people take it too far, right? It's like, one of the famous ones I watched a TED talk about, like it was not cancel culture, but you'd almost call it cancel culture now. But it was just like people whose lives were ruined by like one tweet. And there was one example, I can't remember what it was. A lady made a tweet, got on an airplane. She only had like 50 followers.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And it was generally a somewhat insensitive tweet. It was definitely like a white privilege kind of tweet, but it wasn't her intent, but that was how it was read. And people fucking like were ready to the point that like people were waiting for her plane to land like 4 hours later. They had police caught onto it, had to then station police, as there was then like crowds of people freaking out at her. She's then got like all these DMs and everything like that, like, threatening to rape and kill her. They're gonna find her and her whole family, right? And like everybody is sending these, just like, you should be eaten and torn apart by dogs. Like it's like, wait a minute. But then, and all of these tweets, you would say on a scale of somewhat racially insensitive tweet versus I'm going to murder you and your entire family, which one do you think is a little bit more extreme? But nobody's freaking out at the guy threatening this woman that they've made the enemy of. And these people then, when they're upset, because a lot of people see corporates and they just see greedy motherfuckers. Like that's one thing that, like, back in the VD2 days, I tried not to get too much on Smite about. It was like, yes, I hate the chests, but I also kind of understand, and it's still a business, and ultimately your bottom line is your most important thing, and I'm not going to villainize you for that. But so it's like, there is the people that will villainize those companies. They look at the gaming community and they just see this, like, united, we're all just here to have fun, forgetting that the people making the game have to make a profit. And
Yeah.
so, but then it falls into weird spots. So like So it sounds like they've made it nearly impossible to grind to get everything in that game, Apex Legends.
Yeah.
But the keyword there is nearly impossible. Because realistically, there's a ton of shit that is actually impossible to grind for. You cannot really grind gems aside from your weekly login in Smite. And you could definitely say that getting everything is basically nearly impossible from your
weekly
weekly
shit.
gem login.
Yeah.
If you don't put money into it, you don't get it. But then but I've seen these games where it's like they'd almost be better off to, like Fortnite even. You can only get this with real money transactions. There is no option to earn enough to get, the other thing. Here's things you can get with points, and here's things you can get with gems. But it seems like these games that just have everything with one currency, and then you can buy that one currency. I've never seen a positive. Like I think you should always have two currencies. People seem to freak out less. I understand that this can only be purchased with money, and I understand that this can be purchased with my points. Give me enough that I feel like I can use my points for something of value. But when you're buying the points that you earn in the game, it always seems to leave a bad taste in people's mouths.
Yeah,
Like if everything was bought with favor, but then you got like 100th or 1,000th as much favor, then you could buy favor, people would be freaking out in different ways. But because there's things that are just completely locked behind the paywall that you can never grind to, people seem to be more okay with it.
I mean, like, I hear what you're saying, but I mean, people freak out about Smite's gems, and they have the two
Oh, I
forms
mean,
of
they
currency,
do.
So
But I just
it's
like
we had a huge thing for a while about the chest rolls because of that, where they had to change the format a couple different times. So I think people are going to complain no matter what. It's just
I think there's some people that feel that everything should be able to be gotten for free.
yeah, because
They feel like they should be able to accomplish it in a reasonable amount of time, and that some people figure that the money should only be used for the shortcuts to it. And for the most part, these are people that basically, and I can't even fault them for it, but these are people that want the product but don't have the cash to get it, but they're willing to put the work into it, and they feel cheated when they can't work towards that goal. And so they will complain about anything money based in Smite. They will complain about things that take too long to grind out. I mean, there's certain things like the Battlefront or the Star Wars Battlefront. Like, okay, yeah, I just literally cannot play these characters unless I put in thousands of hours and pay money to then only like get them for a temporary time. And there's like a huge power spike to it. It's a little bit different with the gods, I think, and the multiple characters in Smite. But a game like Battlefront, you're like, okay, that's clearly crossed a fucking line. But, and I know which side of the fence I lean on, where it's just like, yeah, dude, like you're gonna price it to make money. You're gonna price it to incentivize people to do it.
Yeah. My only criticism of the devs, I mean, because we can talk about pricing and whatever. At the end of the day, it's a cosmetic event. I can't hate them too much. They only responded. They didn't respond to very much legitimate criticism of the event in the sense that, like people will come out with like long talking points. Hey, this is why we're mad, but in a very respectful setting, right? Like I am a fan of the game. This is why I'm annoyed, but I understand you have to make money. But here's why this is bothering me. They only responded to the people that were like, jump off a cliff. I fucking hate that I have to spend money in this game. Like those sort of people. I feel like a lot of this could be mitigated if they had said, like, if they saw those comments and went, like, yeah, I understand why they're calling them a dick, but respond to some legitimate criticism as well. And maybe at that point it would have been a little bit less of a backlash,
Though, and this is something that you sometimes kind of get into a weird spot with a dev, though, too. And maybe correct me if you think I'm wrong on this, but if somebody pitches a very reasonable point, this is why I'm frustrated. I think back to even the Hindu Man episode, which I know kind of has my own history with it, right? Part of the reason I quit Smite. And my complaints to him, here's why I'm set. Here's a very legitimate reason why I am very unhappy with this. And he basically his response was, yeah, okay, that's legitimate reason to be upset, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing to say, just other than, yeah, okay, I hear your opinion. I respect your opinion. We maybe have a different opinion, or this isn't going to change anything. There's sometimes sometimes you can pitch an opinion in a way that it's like, hey, these well thought out opinions. They might take that in. They might have conversations about it. It's funny sometimes the way game companies will actually take those valuable comments and run it in there. But you have to be careful, because if it's like, oh, hey, we've taken your feedback. If they give the response, hey, we've taken your feedback and we're discussing it, and then nothing changes, people feel, I think, even more cheated than if they'd responded. Because if it's like, oh, if they responded, hey, great feedback, people then almost have this expectation that now this feedback is going to result in change.
Right.
Because they've now responded and acknowledged that this is good feedback. When realistically, they might take this feedback, consider it for future decisions later, so that maybe people are less upset, or acknowledge that as just, you know what, they're upset for these reasons, but that's something, you're always going to have somebody upset, and we're going to just accept that they're upset and call that like a calculated risk, or worth it, or whatever, right? Like, there's nothing we can do. We're not going to make this person happy, so move on. Because I've seen that too, where this is great feedback, yeah, definitely, and then they're accused of just not listening to their community, or false flags, or whatever, right? Like, they're totally fake. They say thank you for the feedback and then never do anything with it, because there's this expectation from a lot of people that because we give you the feedback, you have to change, even if they acknowledge that these are very legitimate reasons to be upset, but we're not going to change. Like, that can almost have a far different approach, rather than just being like, hey, look, this person's just being a villain, and maybe my emotions got the best of me and I shouldn't have responded to anybody. So sometimes why devs just like, Smite's been accused of it lots, right? Where they're like, look, we listened to everything everybody's saying, and people go, but why hasn't things changed yet? Well, because maybe it's not high enough on the list, or we don't agree with the reasons, but we understand you're upset. We'll look at our own alternatives. And this process might take 5 months before an answer's come to. Businesses are slow. The bigger they get, the more they can get done, but the slower it can get done. It's weird. So it's like, yes, they shouldn't have necessarily responded to the trolls and the angry people. Their emotions probably got the best of them, but responding to the well thought out opinions can put the pressure to then give them what they want and paint them as, false. I'm trying to think of the right words, but just like fake. Oh yes, thank you, and then never do anything. Like,
Yeah, I kind of get that. I feel like I understand where you're coming from. I just think that it's not a good look when someone comes into the situation and goes, oh, they only responded to the people that were fucking frothing at the mouth. It makes it seem like they were disingenuous.
They're just putting out the fires.
Yeah.
Disingenuous is actually the word I was using more for if they responded to the positive, like the well thought out feedback.
Yeah,
Like,
but I think there's a way. There's at least a PR way to do that, though, right? Like, hey, man, we hear what you're saying. We get you're upset. Can't promise any changes, but we get it. If you don't want to buy into this event, we understand.
Appreciate the feedback. Can't guarantee change. And it's like, yeah, that can still, though, depending. I mean, everybody's going to take everything different, right? Some people will say, well, at least they're listening, but then other people will still call them disingenuous and fake.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's the short answer is you'll never please everybody, and somebody will always be upset. Like, I think it's like we never got really that big to get much, although Matt, as the face of it, apparently got more of the hate DMs. With
Yeah,
VB2.
I never got any of that shit.
Like, I never got any of it, and then Matt's just like, he was actually like stressed him out, and he hated being the face of it for that reason. Although I think Matt just kind of ignored a lot of it, and I might have been like, go fuck yourself a little more quickly.
Push up my
I pretend like I'm stoic.
Like,
and I'd
I'll
be the
tell
first
you
person to
what.
just- I'd be the first person to tell them to go fuck themselves. But anyway, that's just people will always be upset. I mean, that's.
I get it. I just wish it wasn't a double standard. I understand it's not a new thing. I just wish like every once in a while, devs like, man, you guys are being real cocks right now. Gotta relax. That we didn't just immediately all jump over and go, it's unprofessional. Can't do that. I don't care if you're getting death threats, bro.
Everybody just needs to set up a reputation like Wendy's, where somehow Wendy's can just hit people with the trollest shit and not get called unprofessional for it. Like,
I think
every team needs a Wendy's PR team.
Yeah,
just,
but
they just
they'll
hide.
get it. It's just the light's not given to it.
I guess fair enough.
There's that big difference.
They also do it behind the Wendy's account, so you don't actually know who's tweeting. I think is another thing. Like if we're talking about anonymity, where like I know on Respawn, Jay, the community manager, is telling me I'm a dick. Not me. I wasn't mean to him. But so now that I know it's you fucker. You know, so that different than
Right. Gives you a face to
the
directory.
the Wendy's account. Like, what am I gonna do? Go into my local Wendy's and be like, your social media account was mean to me, and I didn't like it. Like, I can't do anything.
That
about
one
it.
McDouble.
And one, yeah, exactly. Give me a Whopper. Fucking, I don't know. I just wanted to throw it out because that was like the big. Because then, like, I saw even like devs from Smite jumping in on it, like, why you guys mean devs? Indie game devs going, yeah, man. I don't know.
Because internet.
The internet, yeah.
All right, y'all ready for some community challenge? Or you guys got something else you want to bring up?
There was a bunch of
How
Marvel
we've
stuff,
made it this
but
whole time without talking about Fire Emblem. I'm just saying.
man, that's fucking good to. We want to talk about Spider-Man leaving the MCU. Or you give a fuck about that?
Dude, that's just a bro moment.
That's on Disney, bro.
Honestly,
that
I
ain't
just
on
don't
Sony.
have anything to say about it at this point because I don't.
Disney
knows
greedy.
What's gonna become out of it?
No.
Okay, I almost want a tinfoil hat this one because I've just been feeling the tinfoil hat lately, and I've not been on the podcast enough. Fucking work. So like I saw all the initial rage and all of the boycott Sony and all of the hate towards Sony for it, right? And then somebody finally came in and was just like, no, wait, actually, fuck Disney, the greedy motherfuckers, and they're actually just trying to bend over Sony, and then everybody switched. But it's like every other thing on the internet, like where they say the problem with hoaxes is that if you put out the hoax, 9 million people will see it, and 900,000 will see the apology and the admittance that it is a hoax, right? And then 8.1 million people will still think this thing is real or this actually happened, right? It's like prank YouTubers have had that like problem a bunch too, where their video will have 10 million views for this like really racially insensitive thing, but then the apology, most people don't see it. And in that same vein, tinfoil hat, somebody from Disney put out that Sony's being greedy to then kind of publicly force them to buy into this. And then somebody then figured out that Disney was being greedy, but that same thing, probably more people saw the initial reaction and started to just drown out any info regarding Spider-Man in the MCU.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Sony even came back with a 70. So the deal was like the current deal was Disney got merch sales, and I think it was like 5% box office or something like that. And they came back and said, no,
Disney
we want.
got...
It's like 5%, right? Something.
No, it was. I read the original deal, or at least one of the posts, then pointing out how brutal it was. Sony got 90% of the movie prices, like the box office money, but Disney got 100% of the merchandise.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
Which, I mean, actually, they say often the merchandise makes like 3 times as much as the box office.
Yeah.
And so through this deal, Disney was still making more money than Sony from Spider-Man being in the MCU. Not as much as if they just straight up owned it. And now they're trying to get Sony to then go on a 50-50 deal so that basically they'll make a couple of 100 million more from the box office. Right? Because like some of the Spider-Man movies made what, like 800 million? But then they'll sell like, they'll sell like $2 billion worth of Spider-Man toys. Like all those cartoons on TV, like 90% of them are just made to make toys.
Little toy factories.
Like they don't make money on the airing of the TV show. The TV show is actually just a 20-minute commercial for some toy.
Yeah. Disney
That's
greedy
like the whole...
was like
So they basically went from we're taking 100% of like the most lucrative part of the market. Now we want 50% to the other part of the market.
Yeah.
Maybe the toys aren't as lucrative as the movies, but I've heard that the toys are actually more lucrative than the movies themselves. Like that's what part of what made Star Wars so popular or so like successful, not even popular. The concept made it popular, but and of course the quality of the original movies.
Yeah.
But they actually like George Lucas was one of the more than people give him credit for his directing chops and his writing chops. They actually give him credit for like pioneering how to make money on like all of the third party stuff between the toys and the brand deals and everything else like that. That's apparently where George Lucas's actual brilliance was back in the 70s or 80s.
Yeah. I don't know, Trevor. You got anything on this other than Disney greedy and this fucks the MCU pretty hard?
I mean, I don't care who's greedy here. I mean, it's just it sucks.
I just want more Spidey MCU movies.
I mean, I don't know. I just don't see the. For me, I don't care who's being greedy. I mean, it's just it sucks, and I don't know what's going to become of the franchise. So I've been really just not speculating about it because no matter what I do, nobody's going to have the right answer on what's going to happen. So I've just kind of let it be and moved on from it.
I feel like the movie, I mean, I'll put my speculating pants on. I don't think Spidey's out of the MCU. I think there's a tug of war on the profits, but I think that the Spider-Man IP and the success of the past two movies and the strength, of it, I think there's so much fucking money to be made that they're just arguing about who gets the larger pot, but they're both going to get fucking millions, like hundreds of millions of dollars from either any deal they sign up for. If it's 70-30, 50-50, they'll both make hundreds of millions to the point that the investment is always worth it.
So there's no deal now, though. There's nothing now.
There's
like
not
they
a
walked
scenario
away.
that I can see. Maybe it'll take a year or two, but they'll walk away. But do you really think that both companies are going to walk away from hundreds of millions of dollars worth of profit?
Yeah. Oh, and Disney
No,
Disney didn't just want Spidey money, by the way. They wanted money from Venom. They wanted money from Morbius. They wanted any like superhero movie Sony does. They wanted money from that. Just to throw that also out there.
Okay, Disney be greedy. Holy fuck.
Yeah.
But
So
I can see them walking away from the Venom stuff. Like the Spider-Man one, I think they'll probably come to an agreement, unless Disney is just that greedy. But that they will actually like fuck that over entirely. I don't know. Now that you've mentioned the other superhero thing, now I'm like, okay, maybe it actually will go off the table. But if it was only Spider-Man, I feel like both companies can't turn away from money. They'll just argue about the pot that they each get.
yeah. I don't know. We'll wait and see. But just in case you didn't know, no more Spider-Man in the Avengers as of now. Might change. Don't know. I think that's all I had. I don't know if you guys have anything else or we want to rip into community challenge.
Good.
Yeah, pretty good.
Let's get it. All right. Challenge this week was, what hobbies do you guys have? I started wood carving recently, so it's kind of already my answer. But I just want to know, what are you guys doing with your free time when you're not playing video games? Out of curiosity.
Well, we should have phrased this in the question, but for at least us, let's bring up, what do we do and what do we like to do? Because I think all three of us are at a stage where, we're building our careers. What we do is at least what we're interested in doing for quite a while longer. So, this whole question was brought up in spirit of communicating more about everyone and what we do outside of these video games. I think that fits.
So talk about our jobs.
Yeah, or just like,
Just what do we
What do
do
you
with our
do?
spare time when we're not gaming? Or not
Yeah.
even spare time, but with our time.
just yeah.
Yeah. That's
I think this one will be more interesting on the reading the community side. I feel like we're pretty open about our lives. Although to be fair, I still don't actually know what Trevor does for a living. I know what Trevor used to do for a living.
Yeah, play Fortnite until I had that bad scooter accident.
I just remember
Damn,
like 2 or 3
man.
years ago, back before VD2 days, and I remember back when we had the Maximum Manliness group chat, and I remember you were working for the government doing. I can't remember what it was, but I remember you just like sending like just like ranting about some of the stupid things you'd seen, like an old lady who hadn't paid her library bill or something for a long time.
Oh yeah, $60,000 library bill levy. That was a lien. Unlucky.
Bruh.
Um,
How many books you fucking taking out?
bro, I
Bring 'em
still
back.
wanted this day. I've seen bigger garnishments, but that was a huge one.
Jesus.
Never bigger from a library.
That's fucked up. That man, you fucking did she like borrow the Declaration of Independence, bro?
Bro, I
Like,
have no idea.
god
But
damn.
here's the thing: you accrued $60,000. Like, so what it was is I was doing garnishments for my company at a point, and in doing that, we do garnishments for our clients and like set them up and stuff. So you'd see like, child support's the most popular, but people who didn't pay their taxes, maybe people didn't pay medical bills or something, whatever they owe money for, that it got escalated in court, and a court order payment was set up. So one of them was a library. I don't know what. I mean, it was some kind of library fee because the um the garnisher was just some library, and it was $60K. And you got to think about it. What in the fucking a library, even with a ton of interest, could ever amount to be $60K? I mean, you can't
Damn.
like, now that I think about it, I never really considered it until now, but maybe somebody just like went off and fucked up a library, just like destroyed a bunch of shit.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't
And
so much that there was library books, but that just like $60,000 in like punitive damages.
yeah, maybe that would make a lot more sense. But I was thinking about like maybe they stole like a really rare reference book or something, something that
I feel like that wouldn't be in a public library.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Whatever it is, it's always one of those things that obviously I still think about to this day, of just like, what the fuck happened? Somebody's got some weird fucking things going on in their life. But okay, let's start out with the community response. So Kurt, dude, I play guitar and drums. I have a PC building side business I'm trying to expand, and I love fucking around with Android. I recently got iMessage working on my Pixel phone, so now I can laugh at all the Apple snobs since I don't spend a cent on getting it to work. For a moment on the I mean, like, I get the Android versus Apple thing, but bro, come on, Kurt, dude.
Kurt dude, I think works in IT though. He's told me.
Well, you just mentioned here he's got I don't know what he does for his main job, but building
IT.
PCs on the side, like, you're in hardware.
I think he's told me it's IT.
I don't doubt it. But bro, how you not gonna expand on the guitar and drums? That, if you're listening, you're gonna have to expand on. I play the drums myself. I should post my drums in the chat sometime. They're not pretty because I have all the silenced drums, but in the next few months, TM should be in a house and really have a beautiful kit. I can't wait to show off.
I did not know you played drums.
Yeah.
You in a band? Or you just play on your own?
No, I just play on my own. But Kurt, dude, you're gonna have to hit me up, dude. Throw it in the chat. What's
Start
going
the
on?
SQA band, you and Kurt dude.
What do you play? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Hell
Let's
yeah.
see.
Got
Coffin Monkey. Go ahead.
I was gonna read it out, but you fucking have at it, buddy. Go for it.
Let's flip switch to it.
No. Let Trevor go. Trevor, read it off.
Do we
Coffin
always
Monkey
just pass
says-
this off to like the newest member? Just like
I think it's just whoever's got it open, really.
There you
Fair
go.
enough.
Coffin Monkey said, "I play soccer, drink bourbon, and throw hand grenades once a year."
we're
Okay,
gonna
so
need some details on why you're throwing hand grenades.
two
once a
two
year.
of those, I was like, yeah, okay, cool. Third one, where do you buy them? How do you? Hold on.
Yeah, I wonder about the fine more than anything. I'm curious. What
That's
country
gotta
are
be
you in?
that's gotta be restricted, right? Like if you're in the States, like you can't just buy a hand grenade, right? Come on, you tell me you can't just buy a hand grenade.
Oh, you know what? I wonder if it's part of training, like, um,
Oh, if he's like reserves or something.
yeah, I bet that's what it is. I don't think there's a way for you to,
As a civilian to
as
buy
a,
it.
yeah, I can't think of something. I mean, like, what are you gonna do? Be like, yeah, I need a hand grenade for hunting.
Yeah.
like,
Fuck.
look, I want the deer like already pre-cut and cooked.
Yeah, just anything in this like 40 square meter radius. Just anything here.
I
just want it
can't
dead.
aim, but I can throw
Just
a
want it
grenade.
dead. I just want it dead.
Like,
I don't know, bro. I don't know.
But I'm curious about that. But also the soccer part. I'm curious how into you are. 'Cause, some people play casually, but if you're really into that, it's sick.
Good shit. I
Let's
want
see.
more knowledge on that hand grenade thing though. So
Yeah.
feel free to
if you-
clarify.
yeah, seriously, hit us up with more details on that because that's just yeah.
Obligatory. All Fro Double G. I used to be a vocalist in the band. I was the organizer for a local Magic the Gathering club. Plus, I was a cook and brewed beer on a regular basis. I was big into disc golf for a long time and had a pro disc golfer I'd go out and play a team with a few days a week. I love D&D and currently DM for Danny Boy and Depp. I have my concealed pistol license and love to shoot guns, especially when Tannerite is involved. I raise 3 daughters and host a podcast, all while being a community advocate. So there's a lot of things to dissect in this one. Personally, obviously, like, I love music. I'm a musician myself, so I'm already wondering, like, what kind of vocalist are we talking here?
I think
What
it was
kind
a
of
metal
genre are we
band. He's
into?
told me before.
I feel like, stereotypically,
Maybe I'm
it would have to be
stereotyping the
metal.
beard, but
Yeah,
I'm stereotyping
mean-
the beard, and I'm pretty sure it was a metal band.
bro. I mean, if he comes back and is like, "Hey, man, it's R&B," I mean, like, I'm fucking into it too. So
Hell yeah.
now I'm curious about that, bro. Um,
Because I've talked to him about metal music as well.
I can't.
That's one of the fun parts about the community is like half the people responding to the community challenge I've now known for so many years. Like Fro, and we've chatted with Nevea and Kurt Dude, like, chatted in DMs and just various across the history. Like, yeah. Anyway, Fro's a cool dude. I mean, fuck Fro, but Fro's a cool
Wait a minute.
dude.
Yeah, we don't like those bot G guys.
Especially Silent Reveries. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, I can't stand the Silent Reveries guy. But the disc golf thing is sick. It's one of those things that I don't think ever gets brought up. But disc golf, I actually really enjoy playing.
I've never played.
It's one of those things, like, obviously you have to have like a place to go do it. Or I mean, like, you can go to a sporting goods store, they might have some like little fucking goals you can put up for it, but it, like, realistically, it's not it's not like your soccer or your basketball. It's not a very I guess popular sport to get into. But
You know
it's
what I've
super
never
fun.
understood with disc golf, and maybe it is just like the barrier to entry for disc golf for like a business to set up that already has a golf course should be pretty fucking tiny, right? Like,
But they just don't cross over.
frisbees can't cost a lot of money, and then even the goals, can't cost a lot of money, and they're already putting their efforts in towards like maintaining the golf course. Now, I know that some
But
golf
it's
courses
just completely different. Those two things just don't cross paths at all, honestly. Even though they both are, term golf, there's no reason for those two things to be mutually exclusive, because like a golf course is very particular about how it's manicured. Like there's more idiosyncrasies into it. You have a ball rolling, whereas disc golf you can go throw it up in the woods somewhere and just clear out a few trees or put it out at a park somewhere. Like not only does not require as much space, but you don't have to worry about manicuring a lawn or something like that, or keeping a field together, because at the end of the day, the objective is not to hit the ground. It's um you're trying to get it into a goal that is off the ground.
I guess where my thoughts with that and why I'm kind of wondering, right? Like, I used to work at a golf course years ago, and the golf course eventually closed down. It wasn't getting enough business, and it was a smaller golf course. I mean, back when I worked there, it was they sold the pro shop because it wasn't doing very well. We basically just had a shed and a till, and I manned that till, and we only had a customer come in every hour. So I basically just spent my day watching. I wouldn't say YouTube because we didn't have internet in the building, but I spent my day like watching like anime that I saved on my laptop and reading books. I taught myself to juggle golf balls, and like I was just dicking around for 8 hours a day doing next to nothing. And then a customer would show up every hour, help them for 2 minutes, and call it a day. It's for a place that was that level of busy. Like, is there any cost or barrier to entry to then also just set it up where like you've got disc golfers and golfers? Like, is the disc golf going that slow? Could they? I mean, this was a par 3, so you should be able to just do like the same course. It's not like your disc golf's doing extra damage. You're not even swinging a club that hits the grass, right? Like, the amount of foot traffic. I mean, if the golf course was busy, it wouldn't have that much more than regular that way. Like, what's to stop a small par 3 from just also setting up some like disc golf shit and then just allowing people to book tee times either way? And then just like what's to stop them from making that extra money? Because the funny thing that made me laugh about that is when that golf course closed like 2 years ago, it became this whole political thing in the small town. Like, what do we do with this golf course's property? It's in the middle of this like really great spot. The city's built all these like soccer fields. Kamloops calls itself the tournament capital of Canada because it's just they have all the like provincial and even some of the Canadian like outdoor children's tournaments. Like when you go to regionals and provincials and stuff, go to Kamloops. And so people were talking about just turning it into more soccer fields. People were talking about turning it into a disc golf course. There was like a huge push to create it as a disc golf course. And then there was also a huge push to turn it into like a nature reservatory, which didn't make any sense for the location. You're like, that makes zero sense, but hippies. And I just couldn't help but wonder at the time where it's like, if you literally take the golf course and then turn it into a disc golf course, and the disc golfers just wanted to basically leave it as it was, city lightly cut the grass and put up the things, and then people would just go for free. It wasn't even a paid disc golf course. Like, what's to stop that golf course before it shut down of just charging like half the rate but for disc golf, or charging the tee cost was only like $9 for the fucking round. 9 Canadian, so that's like 6 American.
I think it comes down to like, do you put them on the same? Do you have to clear more trees? Because the disc golf goals are pretty fucking big. Like, they would get in the way, I would imagine, of a regular golf game, unless you put them on the same.
I guess
green.
I don't know how big they were. I thought they weren't much bigger than like a basketball hoop or something, but
that's still pretty large though. Like, I fucking hit little baby trees when I golf, man. I don't need a fucking mesh net in my way when I'm fucking driving.
Well, I'm just thinking if you have the mesh net like not on the green but over to like the left or something, right? Your green,
you'll still hit
right,
it.
your mesh
You'll
net's
hit it.
To the left,
I promise you'll hit it. I guarantee
I
you'll
guess.
hit it. It doesn't matter. Golfers find a way. Trevor can tell you. Golfers find a way to hit just like the dumbest shit, right? I'm not crazy.
Bro,
You just like, dude, that tree is fucking
makes
20
you
yards
wonder.
away. I ain't gonna hit that. Yeah.
No. I know why you hit it, because I play golf. The mindset is, man, I really don't want to hit that. So then you hit it.
Yeah.
Like,
If only you didn't want to hit the green, you'd land on it every time.
Fuck you,
exactly.
dude. Instead, I'm about to put a fucking hole through this person's screen porch again.
Shit. That's the dangers.
that.
They bought that house there. They knew the risks.
Honestly, like that's on some dumb shit. But let's see what else we got in here. We talked about the guns. I grew up around a lot of guns, but where I am now,
You'd have to go to like a range
do
or
not have
something.
any. Yeah, like yeah, before like growing up in where the fuck Florida, you could just ATV and shoot guns, it pick someone's house kind of thing. It
Pick
was
someone
it
like
was
you shoot at their house, like fucking
no.
America,
Like
man.
you go in the backyard and you shoot, or I mean, it was pretty much something like that because there'd be so much forest there, um, or there would just be no one in that direction because we lived on the coast. Um, so there were like actual directions where it's just nature for as far as you can see. But usually we were smart about it where you'd either shoot at an angle, so it always hit the ground, um, or you have some kind of like backdrop, whether it's like this huge pile of dirt, or something else to make sure that even if there's nothing in that direction, you play it safe. But I mean, it was still so easy just to do it, go anywhere, and that was a fun point in life. But yeah, now it's just kind of like ranges if I want to go shoot. Um, but I don't do it for like hunting or anything. It's more of just
The sake of shooting a gun.
yeah, yeah, something. Um,
I feel like an American
Not an
flag
obsession,
is you just need to edit one in behind you on this part of the video.
It's like, hey
it's
man,
it's less about being a gun, more of just it's like you can get competitive about it. I mean, just like anything else, like you're trying to get the best shots on target and stuff. Like if I go with somebody, it's always about that. So it's just one more thing to like challenge your abilities at. I mean, it kind of was like that all the time. Like even back when I grew up, it was just like one more thing for us to be competitive about, and because a lot of the people I grew up with weren't in the sports like I was. Um, so you know, being the best at other things, or having those friendly rivalries over those things, that shooting, riding ATVs, and more redneck stuff was usually where that came involved.
hell yeah,
Fair enough.
redneck shit.
I just tease
Feels
about the
good.
gun thing. I mean, we don't have the same guns, but like so many people out here, they have long barrel guns. They go out with their rifles and their 22s, and they're just as obsessed with guns out here. I swear to God, just we don't have the same kinds of guns. That's partly because I
Well, I
also
mean,
live in
like
Alberta.
even backwards. I mean, like we're shooting 22s and shotguns and stuff like that. So we're not fine. I mean, like some people are fine 357s and some
Crazy
ARs,
shit.
but
22s are great because
I mean, like
you barely need ear protection for them because they're so quiet. Such a small caliber, you can just fucking squeeze off a couple and be all right.
yeah,
I've gone out with my
we
dad plinking cans and stuff with 22s, but
yeah, yeah, but
I just like teasing because guns just definitely have a certain American connotation.
yeah. But when I mean guns, I mean like either 22s, some shotguns, or like old World War II rifles. Like um my buddy had like a Mosin Nagant, and we'd shoot that. Like nothing modern. um but let's see.
You know what?
So we got go ahead.
Sidetrack. To be fair, I've been cooped up in the basement for 7 days just playing video games. And other than when Flint was here, I haven't been very social with people for a while. I haven't been playing social games, so when I get this chance to talk to you guys, I talk about the randomest shit. I'm sorry, cooped up. But I only just learned that like we have a musket hunting season. So like I was chatting with somebody at work, and they talk about the hunting season, and I just figured hunting season starts and everybody goes hunting, and that was it, right? That was all I thought it was. And apparently out here, and like it's really common, they start with 3 different hunting seasons. First off, they open up bows. So bows going to go out hunting first.
Oh, I have heard of this.
Then later in the season, they have long barrel musket season, where you shoot like the round ball, like they fucking muskets, like black powder muskets. And then there's like a whole thing where people hunt with black powder muskets. And then they go to the scoped rifles after that in like the later part of the season. They open it up in like 3 stages based on difficulty. And so the harder the type of hunt you do, the earlier you can hunt in the season, which also then means you can bag the bigger deer. because you're like, oh, I went bow hunting, I got in bright and early into the season, and I found the bigger deer, and then now all the bigger deer are gone, and then you're hunting the smaller deer with the rifles. Far easier to do. And then the long barrel black powder guns are apparently like that in between difficulty. And I was like, wait a minute, people here are buying like black powder fucking muskets in Canada?
Oh yeah.
Like I had no idea.
Yeah, man,
I had
yeah.
no idea. I only learned this like 2 weeks ago. I thought it was just like a thing people would collect from like old like antique guns or something. I didn't know they made modern black powder musket style guns. They're like a modern gun, but they
know that either.
load and they basically like, you know, not quite flintlock, but still black powder. Like, what? I didn't know that was a thing. And apparently there's like a hunting season and like Canada regulations. I'm like, what? My whole mind was opened up to this. I had no idea until like 2 weeks ago that was a thing.
Yeah, man.
Sorry, sidebarring, but I'm being me.
Yeah,
Let's
and
move on to the
I've
next
heard of
person's
that
shooting
here.
challenge.
I've heard of the bow hunting here, but never the musket.
Yeah, bow hunting I
So-
knew. The musket thing is what blew my mind.
No, but I mean like in the seasons
Or
too.
the black
so,
powder.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's actually musket. It's just like I think it's a new style of like black powder gun, but it's essentially like black powder with the like modern black powder gun, rather than just like the actual like cartridge bullets and stuff. But shoot the like very round like ball bearings.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. They're fun to shoot, man. Shot black powder revolver. It was good. It was a fucking good time. Felt like a cowboy. Yeehaw, brother.
All right. Let's move on to Nevaeh's. Before I derail us more, I'm in a weird mood today. I'm also installing Smite, just so we know. I might
Oh,
not
no.
actually touch it. I might
It's
log
coming.
in, look at my characters and skins, read the kits of the new gods, and then shut it off and never touch it again. But we'll see what happens. But I'm interested in adding in all the whammies. Like, there's like 2 or 3 things that have been added to the game that make me interested. And one of the biggest ones is crossplay, because I don't give a fuck about the competitive world. I want to just like play with people. So I'm interested. Anyway,
Let's see.
Nevaeh's.
I like to crochet, but summertime isn't a good time for it at all. My biggest crochet goal is to make my own plushie Ganesha. That'd be sick. But that's going to take some time and definitely won't be as quick as these little Mario mushrooms and this little octopus that currently decorates my desk at work. Other than video games, you can find me also playing tabletop games. I prefer co-op games like Pandemic or the Sherlock Holmes mystery game with a great story. The hubby and I, along with his best friends, have also been working on Gloomhaven, which is like the biggest co-op dungeon crawler tabletop game I've ever played, and we've been at it. We've had it since Christmas. I also like teaching myself the guitar and practicing singing, and of course, working on the podcast with Fro and the gang.
The boys. The boys.
Have you posted? I don't know if I've seen her post any crochet stuff.
Nah, get that shit in the creation fucking channel.
That or that
Well,
whammies
Or
IRL.
IRL or something, yeah.
Yeah.
Get it.
IRL, I feel, is like that spot to show off all that stuff. Some of these channels could probably go
Probably streamline it a little bit if we thought about
streamline
it.
it a little bit. Like whammies in real life, just I think it's turned into like talking about your real life, because I think when we made it back in the VD2 days, it was very much like we are only talking about Smite in the main channel, and so we basically made, I think, whammies IRL to talk about just like anything, and you know, get to know each other and talk like whatever. And then we went to SQA, and it was mostly just like, you know, some of the long-term community that stuck around. The whammy chat, we just talk about fucking anything, and whammy IRL has turned into more of a showcase the cool things you're doing. Like Bryce posted his fire cooker, and like some guys will post some like, hey, I'm out having steak and beers, check out these beers.
Yeah.
Like it seems to be that spot to post the photos, and in short, that's the spot to post your crocheting.
Do it. I want to see it. Come on, Nevaeh.
I post all
Yeah,
my
actually
landscape photos
post
in there. Yeah.
Let's see. With the board game stuff though, I've never gotten into, not for sake of lack of interest, but never gotten into like these long run co-op games in the past. I mean, like we'll play like Tabletop Simulator and stuff, but those are like, you know, we'll spend a couple hours on a game at most.
Gloomhaven sounds interesting because right before I got into D&D, kind of as like the precursor to me and my friends getting into D&D, we played Pathfinder's tabletop game. And they actually have a phone version of it, but you have to like buy into all the other things. And you go through a lot of the story beats, but you kind of lose some of the actual story delivery. It's just like locations from their initial things. And you get like, hey, you've got your card, for your character that you picked. The characters are generally pre-made. You then find weapons. Then when you attack, you roll the dice and actually roll the hit, very similar to what you would in D&D, but it's very much a card-based system. We are like, somebody's not DMing it as much as like, oh, I'm going here for this and I'm going here for that. And I'm trying to defeat this person for these reasons. And then when you finish the adventure, there's like a big stack of cards for like a loot table that you could then like put out for people, your +1 swords, your +2 swords, whatever. And then your character's limited by how much stuff they can carry. And it's very much intended that like, yes, every card is just in the box and you could just like make a max level character and hand them everything, right? But what's the point in that? I don't know what Gloomhaven is, but that sounds a little bit like the Pathfinder role playing like card game. Not even card game, it's more of a board game, but they had cards in the board game. But because those would be kind of cool. Like I'd love to get something like that built up here. Because my Tuesday campaign, like when I've told my wife straight up is, which will probably not happen for a year, but when I switch back from site to Calgary, I'm going to try to get back into something weekly, like a D&D, whether it's online, joining Flint's campaign or something, like, or finding another group. I want to play more. Anyway,
Yeah.
Ryan's wonky today.
Brian's
I'm not
going
drunk,
on.
but I'm being weird.
High on life, brother. High on life.
High on being social after playing nothing but Fire Emblem for like 3 days.
There are people in this world. Oh, fucking holy shit. Hey, man, we all
that
get
aren't
there.
on my screen. I have not got enough natural sunlight. Sometimes I have a really weird, like lethargic, lazy set at home, like days at home, days off, where I just do nothing. And these are one of these sets. And I go back to work and I'm like, how do I function again? How do I talk to people? How do I do anything that isn't get up and play video games and go to bed? Previously in the winter, I would get like depressed when I did this, but then now for some reason in the summer, I'm like, I was really busy for just like 2 months, and I'm just like, I ain't fucking doing nothing, and I'm loving it, except I'm a little bit wonky right now. Just like coming out of the crypt. I'm not crazy.
I think is that all of them, Trevor? Is there one more?
No, there's Crotians.
Croshen? Okay.
The Croshen said, I hardly have any time anymore because of work and try to see movies when possible. I'm a fan of the bombastic blockbuster than the cultured art piece. I feel that the former usually is better, is a better time than the latter, in my opinion. I'm a pharmacist by trade, so most of the time I'm behind the counter getting yelled at by patients. Recently, I've been getting into target shooting and have been having a lot of fun with that.
Oh,
So, a couple things to
Crotian's
pick on
into
here.
a lot of cool shit. He likes a lot of the nerdy stuff. I feel like if he had more free time, he'd participate in more things like D&D and stuff like that. But I know his job takes up a lot of time. And so when we want to do stuff, it's like, oh, hey, when you free, we're both into this game, and then it's like between the two of us, it's like 4 days from now we can play for like 2 hours, and then I don't talk to him for like a month and a half, and then we'll line something up like way out in the future again when something new comes out. We'll play for 2 hours and then do nothing again. Like,
hell yeah.
but I totally
I
feel
haven't
the
talked to him.
bombastic blockbuster.
I haven't talked to him one on one before, but I'm curious about the writing. I used to write a fair amount in the past, but it was more of a I can't write to write. I have to have a story I really want to put on paper. I won't just do it to better my skills or something like that. But I really like doing a lot of dark pieces, and I've had some ideas lately I've wanted to get into, but I just haven't had the motivation to put my time into it. But
I'm gonna just straight up pitch this as actually honestly and earnestly as I can. Have you ever considered just learning the D&D rules and DMing a campaign?
no.
Because one of the things, like, I mean, I'm a math guy. I never really put any time and effort into learning to write, and the thought of putting pen to paper to write down a story is very daunting, and I don't really think it's quite my style. But one of the things that I could definitely say is the best part about DMing, more than even in the session, where the passion from a DM comes into that willingness to put in, 20 hours of their life to prepare for a 5-hour campaign, is that sense of writing, or the core parts of writing. There's this beauty in D&D where you could basically have an incomplete script and roll with it, because your play, like, if you ever talk about writing and what would your character do, right? Like, here's these setups, because I actually watch a lot of writing tips, like how to create suspense, how to do mysteries. And actually, to get into this current campaign, like a year and a half ago, I was watching writing tip videos and like storyboarding videos on how to like try to tell a better story. And there's just something about that once a week low pressure with your friends, that even if you're not writing, you could be social, but then you're planning and you've got these stories in your head and you could deliver them. And you could do them even as one shots if you don't want to do a long, elaborate campaign. And there's just like such a beauty in that creation of that story, that, yeah, I totally look up like actual writing tips that people would put into novels to then concept the world. And then when I ask the question, what would the main characters do? Actually, I don't actually have to figure out what the main characters would do. I present the problem and let the main characters, which are the players, figure it out. So it's kind of sits in this world where, like, a lot of people that love writing love D&D. And there's actually even stories that Critical Role people have talked about how they didn't know they had a passion for writing or this other artistic thing, and they start playing D&D, they start thinking about their characters, they start a DM, and then all of a sudden they're writing a book for the first time in their life, because something about being able to just get that creativity and that story out there. Now, DMing like a pre-made module, that's a different, that's a kind of a very controlled kind of whatever. But for me as a DM, and part of the reason I've often struggled every time I talk about trying to do a module campaign, yes, a module campaign can take out a lot of the work, but a lot of that just like, brainstorming and planning and it's like you do all of the prelim stages before you would ever actually put pen to paper for a story. And then you just kind of improv it with your friends. So if you like that stuff, because I know Croshan does some DMing, I would actually pitch to you to look into the rules, look into more D&D, and try it.
Honestly, I'm just not in the fantasy at all. In the only
They've got other
genre
tabletop games that aren't fantasy.
the only genre I like to write is just like this really these dark like first person insanity pieces, uh, specifically dwell in this like
Oh, okay.
realm between um depression, anxiety, and possible mysticism. So it's just really niche.
So it
Because I
wouldn't
only
necessarily
like to
work
write.
within the.
No, I specifically like to write really only when I'm in a dark place and translating like my feelings and then pushing them to a much more radical extreme. It's always how I've just found my passion, and when I really am invested in writing.
It's an escape more than a.
Not so
Or like
much.
a,
It's
not so
just
much
like
escape, but
it's a project to work on. Like and it's not to vent as much as it is just like, okay, I've had this really cool idea come out of, this dark place, um, and then I just kind of roll with it, and I feel like because I'm in that space currently, it's easier for me to write and provide this authenticity to it than any other time in my life. You know, it's the
fair enough.
authenticity of it is the key part for me.
Yeah, I can see why that would struggle to translate to D&D, and I guess if the
Yeah,
fantasy
it's
side's
just
not for you, then that one would roll more. I guess I heard writing, and my brain immediately went to the style of stuff that, from my perspective, right? I've
Yeah,
always
yeah, yeah.
got a million ideas, but I often have a hard time executing on, the completeness of the idea. So for me, DMing allows me to take a lot of my ideas, throw 90% of it in a half completed form, and then improvise with, the people at the table and have really great times and flesh it out on the go. And so I guess for me, I think half of what I enjoy about it is it's like I do half the work of a writer and half the work of improv when I do it. So like the amount of times that some of the best sessions we've ever had was on like a 25% complete idea that I didn't finish preparing, but then the schedule kind of forced me to improv it on just like the framework.
I hear
So
you.
so when you talked about like getting in and out of writing, that's kind of where I made that connection, but I can see the differences in our approaches with it, and where that wouldn't necessarily, what worked brilliantly for me wouldn't necessarily work as well for you.
Yeah. Um. So that was the last community challenge response. Do you guys want to go around real quick and just explain our hobbies real quick and like what we do and
Yeah, for sure.
that little insight? What you want to go?
Yeah, sure. Like I said, I've been into wood carving recently. Other stuff I would do in the past. Big reader, big fantasy novel reader. So I have a very large bookshelf full of shit that I read and reread and shit like that.
How did you
Uh,
like Akimi's bookshelf when you stayed upstairs?
That was crazy, dude. There's a lot of fucking books up there. I was like,
You
damn,
realize she has as many books as that in her e-reader,
Jesus.
and then yeah, I know. I don't even want to think about how much money she spent on books, but I just don't.
Hey, man.
And then half of that shelf that's there, or like 90% of that shelf, she's read upwards of 5 times that you saw.
Lord. Hey, man.
That
Good to have
woman reads
a
lot.
passion, man. Yeah,
She loves to read.
A big reader, and I sort of just like flit around hobbies. I'm trying to be more consistent with the carving. So, to be fair, this is the first hobby in a long time where I've been at work and I come home. I'm like, man, I can't wait to fucking grab that block of wood and just start shaving pieces off. So, I'll be doing that. And then I also have like D&D. I'm gonna be up to twice a week come September 5th, I guess. So one of those will be on a stream, so you guys can watch that if you feel like it.
Any spoilers on that? I don't know if I know about this one.
Yeah, I'll be on the Greyhawk channel, playing on stream on their Thursday time slot. So
Wait, Greyhawk channel. This
Yeah.
is like a different set of creators? Is this like related at all to SQA or?
no, totally. Beside that, they've said they needed players. I threw my hat in the ring, and they were like, "Yeah, man, we got opening in the Thursday time slot. It's not D&D. It's based off Numenera, which I've never played before. So I'll let you know how that
Just
goes.
because Greyhawk is one of the settings in the actual D&D lore. It's
Yeah,
one of the early
they're
settings.
they're pretty big actually. They're a fairly large channel. They needed some players. Because I guess
I'm just interested that the things you get into surprise me sometimes. Like and now you're involved in this fairly big D&D channel as one of the new players. Was it just like when you got on to SQA and it was just the right time when you asked like on Twitter, or did they just like?
they had like a thing on Twitter like, hey, put your hat in the ring. It's like, all right, cool, I'll do that. Threw it in there, and yeah, it seems to be how I get into a lot of stuff. Just like throw the name out, see what happens. Don't say no.
Fucking guy.
Just lucky that way, I suppose. So, yeah, I'll be doing that Thursdays come September 5th. You guys want to check that shit out? But yeah, like other than that, I like wood carving, a lot of reading, and try to exercise a lot when I can. I don't know if you really call that a hobby more than like keeping up with your body, but yeah, that's my stuff. What about you, Trevor? What are you up to? I know you got the drums and shit, but what do you got?
Yeah, so drumming is probably my biggest passion, even aside from gaming. But I live in an apartment, so I have a silenced kit, which is, yeah, I mean it's hard to translate these feelings to people who aren't musicians or but being in an apartment, even with my silence kit, like I can still play it, but there's just this huge difference in the feeling, and it's all the little things. I mean, even just the feel of the drum heads, the feel of the cymbals, the sound, the impact, everything coming out of it. It's just I don't get as much joy from playing it like this. So
Is it one of those
I'm
setups where you like plug
excited.
in your headphones and when you hit the like
No,
rubber
I don't
one,
know.
it sends you
That's
the
electric.
sound?
No, that's electric. I have a acoustic kit, but I specifically have all my drum heads and cymbals swapped out with quiet, like specifically branded um silence versions for the sake of being able to play in an apartment. So they're specifically made for that purpose and nothing else. Like the drum heads are mesh as opposed to um being like these like plastic heads. um and the cymbals they're still metal, but they're designed in a way to be
So you don't
less
get the good
impactful.
sound and rhythm to it. You just get the motion and
But even down to the drum heads, like the feel of the drum heads, I miss the feel, the not and the sound too, of course, but all of it. It's crazy to think about how much of a difference it is. But it is. It's so love drumming. I talked about cooking a lot before. I cook more as like a hobbyist. No interest in doing it as a profession, but uh, come from a family of people who love to cook, and it kind of in my adult life, I've finally picked up the passion to really enjoy it and want to put time into it. Um, Aside from that, I'm obviously huge into music, so concerts are something I'm always thinking about. And for work, for that kind of interest, what I do is kind of an awkward position in terms of just putting one word to it, but simply put, I work for a payroll and HR third party company, and do this kind of like third or tier three like technical support. So a lot of database work, um, a a lot of basically do everything that IT doesn't. Um, in terms of like technical work, outside of development and IT, we're in that middle point between those two. I think is a great way to explain it. So that is something I really enjoy for my work life, and want to continue with.
Hell yeah. Dude, I enjoy when your drums, like when you go to like music stores and stuff and you throw those drum sets up on Facebook. So it's a good time. You can tell you're really enjoying yourself when you do that. So
Dude, I tell you, I did that this week, and every year I'm thinking about do I want to move into a house? This is the year because moving is obviously a
pain in the
huge
ass.
hassle. Yeah, and it's also a gamble because apartments you can renew your lease, or you can basically book an apartment many months out. But a house is different, you know. So we with like our rent, we have to give like 4 months notice that we're gonna stay, 3 or 4,
Four
and
months.
yeah, it's well because they got to start listing your place if you're gonna move. So if you're gonna stay, you can tell them whatever. But if you are leaving, you have to give 3 to 4 months notice. Um, so that's always been like the gatekeep thing because we got like maybe a month or two out with a house and when you want to book it. But I mean, I've looked. There's so many places around here right now. I mean, by the time we renew our lease at the end of the year, or would, there'll be plenty of places as well. So I'm just gonna gamble and say we go on a house finally because when I was drumming this week, it was just like it was kind of like the last straw of like I just got to get this back. I need this drug in my life again, kind of thing.
Maybe I'm just a dick, but when I left my last place, because like Canada, we don't have any laws that require any more than 30, and you basically can't really write into a contract that you require more than 30 days notice before leaving. They don't do the 2-3 month like listings. That's just the risk that the company takes that it'll be empty for a while. Calgary though also has such a like the housing market has been in such a way that like they're often filling it pretty damn fast, and so you need to like move out in the morning so people can move in the afternoon. It's a weird kind of fucked up setting. And when we moved into our current place, we were having the conversation because they were calling us like 3 months before, are you staying? And I said, yeah, does my contract require me to tell you now? And they're like, no. And I hadn't actually decided yet. I was down to like literally the month. We were basically trying to find a place 2 months before so that we could sign the new lease and then go cancel our old one with our 30-day requirement. And I fucking held them to the last minute. And like it was to the lease. I hadn't confirmed whether or not I was staying. They were kind of terrible landlords. Like they were not pleasant people to rent from. This like company was not a good company to rent from. And they must have been calling me fucking 3 times a week asking if I'd made up my mind if I was staying or not. But because I didn't have to legally tell them, and I knew I didn't want like I knew if I told them early they'd have people touring my house for like 6 weeks, seven, if I told them 2.5 months, they'd have people touring it for 2.5 months. And I didn't want that many people touring the house when I wasn't there. So I just made them wait. No, I haven't decided yet. I'm still confirming, still kind of browsing the market. I will not confirm either direction, whether I'm staying or going. You will hear before the 30 days. And I made them wait till the exactly like required by law 30 days, 1 month notice. Because maybe I'm just a dick, but I wasn't having that fucking 3 months of people touring my house bullshit.
Well,
Yeah, I don't know if there's any laws here, but I mean it's just unlucky for me.
well, we got one. We got a challenge cooked up for this week, boys. Fucking.
Well, we haven't got into my life. Apparently, I'm just not important.
That's right. Okay, Brian. Fucking go for it, buddy. What you got? Give her.
Honestly, my life, I sometimes think it was pretty boring. I think before the days of VD2, and because VD2 happened so soon after I graduated university, like it was within a year. I started school so late as well that like I got into my adulthood, but didn't really have any hobbies past like what a teenager or young broke ass adult would do, right? I spent, the only thing I could afford to do before I went to university was like my World of Warcraft subscription, and I could maybe buy like 1 or 2 games a year if I had to like, pinch my pennies for a couple of weeks. So a couple of big releases, the next Final Fantasy or something, which 13 was such a disappointment at that time, right? It was like save up for 2 months to get the $80 Canadian to buy the game. So I didn't do much aside from game because I couldn't afford anything aside from gaming. I did some rollerblading, I did some biking. I used to be in a lot better shape when I was Flint's age. I don't know if I was in quite as good a shape as Flint is at his age, but I was a lot better shape. We'll say that. Used to play, of course, a ton of DDR, but that's also another video game. And then when I graduated university, I then started struggling with what do I do with time that isn't filled with just massive amounts of fucking drowning me homework. And that's when I started hiking. And then hiking turned into photography. So when I started hiking, it was all about the hiking. I love the hiking. I love the outdoors. I still generally do, but I've fallen off so much that my weight and my fitness level has been a real deterrent on it. So I feel like I got to get it back up so I can go back and chase that passion. And then, but that then turned into, I bought the camera to augment the hiking, and I just enjoyed taking the camera when I went hiking. And then I just got more and more and more into the photography to the point I started chasing pictures in town. And then, and then it was, I'm now hiking to go get the photos. I'm now hiking at these hours and then hiking back in the dark so I could get optimal light. And I'm now spending some of my free time like planning out photos. What's the clouds look like? What's the weather look like? What are areas I can look on Google Maps? What would make a good foreshadowing? What would make a good or not foreshadowing, but like foreground, background, what would make a good composition from a distance, studying up, like watching tons of tips and editing tutorials. I spend a lot of time on that part of the photography. So my biggest hobby outside of gaming is, D&D and photography.
Hell yeah.
Sometimes I don't feel like going out. Like this set, I just didn't feel like going out. I probably should have. It's almost maybe like a small depression thing where I just don't want to leave the house, so I don't. And I kind of gave in to that desire. But then whenever I get out, I'm always super happy that I did. The set before Julian, like the days off before, not Julian, before Flint came into town, I went out just every day. Went out to different parks in Calgary and took photos. And I do find, though, that this is the first time I've ever in my life really embraced a creative endeavor. I've never been into drawing and painting or music or anything.
Right.
And this is something that I think every creative type can relate to. Even my sister, when she drew and would complain, is the struggle of being your own worst critic and how almost demoralizing it can be. And it's something that comes with improvement. I've been finding it's just like really been almost bogging me down. Like I had a photo, I posted it months and months ago, and I just like while I was in camp, I was looking at it and I was hating it. People loved it. Everybody was like, "This is such an amazing shot," but there was certain things about the way I edited it that I hated, just despised it, and just like months later, I hated this photo that I think a lot of people in general have liked. And it's just this weird part about it where it's like I've learned all these things and I can see all these mistakes I made in it. Like I almost want to go remove it from my Facebook. I sometimes have to fight that urge to take some of my photos off my Facebook because I don't think they're good enough anymore. I'm suffering through that part of that creativity. And anyway, that just turned off into a whole separate side. But I just found it was interesting. Like anybody who's done creativity, I've seen people that draw that hate their drawing after because they can do better, right? Or this other one I did was better than this one. And sometimes it's like that self-critic can almost like hinder it, and then it makes it harder to go out because I can expect better, or I've found better conditions, or I get pickier. And in general, my photography is improving. They say that's a sign of improvement, but it's a weird part of my life that, some people experienced in teenage years and have learned to get past. Some people don't get past it. Ed, Punk Duck is somebody who greatly suffers from that. His video quality blows our minds and he always has to exceed it. And, or Matt, made his videos and then doesn't post them for very similar reasons. And photography is the first creative endeavor I've ever gotten into where now I can totally relate to all those other people. And I feel bad for anybody that I ever said, just post it or, good enough. And like, I'm an ignorant asshole and I apologize for those past comments, right? Like I've learned.
Yeah. Sometimes
and then aside from that, it's, with my 10 and 10, I don't have children. I don't own my house. I rent. So aside from doing some chores, like my days off is like a regular day for me is often like when I'm doing what the balance I want. It's like wake up, maybe play some video games for 3-4 hours, go out for how many hours? 4, 5, 6 hours, photography, then come back and game and Netflix till I go to bed. That's what I did pretty much every day the days off before Flint came to visit. Hell, that's practically what you did while you were here. It was like games in the morning, go out, do a bunch of stuff, hiking, touristy, and then come back and game and Netflix till the end of the night.
Pretty much, yeah. we were at that point.
And if it doesn't serve those two things, gaming and photography, I'm typically not doing it. Those are really just the entirety of my life right now.
Well, we got one for this week, boys. What do we got?
We jokingly said try to convince Brian to re-download Smite, and then I downloaded it during the episode, so that one's gone.
But you're talking about community challenge. New question.
Yeah. We post that shit. I gotta edit tomorrow anyway, so I'll cook it up, or tonight, I guess. Some point.
We'll put all the emphasis on Flint. Check the Discord.
Yeah. If it's not there, yell at me. Specifically me. Me.
I'll yell at Trevor.
Yeah, someone will still fucking yell at Trevor. Yell at me. All right, I'm pimping us out, getting us out of here. You want to listen to more? We're on pretty much every podcasting app: Spotify, SoundCloud, TuneIn, iTunes, Google Play. Check us out there.
We're on Spotify now? When
Oh,
did
fuck
that
yeah.
happen?
I signed us up for it. We're in there now, buddy. It's like episode 50 or so, I think. But the whole catalog's there, pretty sure. You can check us out on
Solid.
YouTube, video episodes every week. Come hit us up on Discord. We're always there chatting, shit like that. Twitter, one or more of us is pretty active on there. You want to follow the podcast Discord, you can follow it at SideQuest Arcade. You want to follow myself, you can follow me at Micromanatee. Trevor at War Hates Peace. Brian at SQA_happiness. Bryce at _Silent Reveries. And Matt at Questin for Life. Oh, I got it right this time. Fuck yeah, boys. I think it's the first
Questin,
one.
though. There's no G, right?
Yeah, there's
It's
no
just-
G. Questin. Questin for Life. Yeah, check us out there. Check out our website. We got a Teespring. You want to check that out too. With that all being said, Brian, thanks very much for coming on.
Thanks for putting up with my weird behavior today.
No worries. Trevor, thanks for sticking in there, hanging out. Appreciate it.
Hell yeah, brother.
Let you go play Fortnite now.
Thank God.
I know you're waiting to build them stairs, brother. Getting that mech, you know. I understand.
Brother, I gotta get my win somehow, you know?
Yeah, dude. It's the competitive spirit, you know. And thank you to the Whammies for listening. Appreciate it. And we'll catch you next week on SideQuest Arcade. Bye-bye.
Peace.